Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Kyle, and you're watching Kyle's Catalog. I'm excited to start this show. I've always wanted to be a game reviewer, but I didn't think I had it in me. I still don't. For the first episode of this oh my gosh! funny show, I'm going to be looking at Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Genesis. Now, this was chosen by a batch of my good friends. They wanted to pick a game that was close to home for me, something that I'm familiar with. This game is the first in a franchise that is one of my favorite of all time. I love platformers, and I love Sonic. So let's see how this game holds up after all these years. I'm sure I don't need to tell you who Sonic the Hedgehog is, but just in case you missed the dumpster fire that was the past decade, here's a quick summary. Sonic the Hedgehog was a character created in 1990 when Sega asked its developers to create a game for their most recent console, the Sega Genesis, featuring a mascot for the company. After considering a number of suggestions, the developers decided on whatever the hell this is, and named it Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic was designed to rival Nintendo's Mario, and definitely succeeded. At first. Sonic the Hedgehog 1 is considered a classic for the Sega Genesis, and is the first game many people think of when they think of Sega or Sonic Team. Any other time Sonic Team is brought up, it's usually for... Well, let's see if this game holds up to its classic status. Let's start with the plot, shall we? In an attempt to steal the 6 Chaos Emeralds and harness their power, the evil scientist Dr. Ivo Robotnik has trapped the animal inhabitants of South Island in metal capsules to power these evil robots called Badniks. Interesting. So this means our blue mutant is going to travel through these zones, collect the Chaos Emeralds, and stop Dr. Robotnik's plans once and for never. The plot is very by the numbers, but it works for a 90s platforming title like this. Although Sonic barely has to poke some of these enemies to get rid of them, so I mean, Robotnik's plan seems a little robust. Moving on to the gameplay now, Sonic 1 is pretty easy to pick up and learn. You can move left and right, jump, and roll up into a ball. You know, basic shit. Sonic will be able to collect these items called rings, which grant him an extra hit point. Anytime he gets hit, Sonic goes bankrupt and loses all his rings. You drop rings on the ground and pick them back up again after getting damaged, so staying alive in tricky places is made a little easier with these. And if he collects 100 rings, he gains an extra life. Neat. Sonic can also break these monitors in the stage that contain extra rings, a shield, speed shoes to increase speed, and invincibility to avoid taking damage for a short period of time. The game takes the blue rat through 6 zones, containing 3 acts in each. Not counting the final zone, because that's just... We'll come back to this. Each zone has its own gimmick, whether it's an environmental hazard or the badniks spread around each zone. Each level has something unique to distinguish them from each other, starting in the luscious and vibrant Green Hill Zone and ending at Dr. Robotnik's base of operations, Scrap Rain Zone. After each zone's Act 3, Sonic has a showdown with the Doctor and a boss fight, which are kinda lame in retrospective. I mean, the ideas these bosses have are pretty neat, it's just they're not really that much of a challenge, except for this one. Fuck this one. So because each stage has its own thing, that must mean the game doesn't get too repetitive, right? So let's get down to the stages. I'm going to be going over each stage, listing what I liked, didn't like, and what I thought of them. Green Hill Zone is the first zone in the game, and I'll just say this now, it's the best stage in the game, bar none. The platforming and running both have a good balance, it's a pleasant setting, and the music is really good. Then comes Marble Zone, crashing the party with a horrible second level. Okay, it's not that bad, but it's still not good. The level has these lava pools, which are the gimmick, and as such, it requires so much stop and go to avoid these pits and get across safely. This wouldn't be that bad, except they span across all 3 acts and are painfully slow. They occupy so much of the level, and it's so annoying to see one of these. Thankfully, the next zone, Springyard Zone, gets a little better with a little less stop and go. The stage has a lot of these springs which can bounce Sonic up to great heights, and can either lead into a reward or a trap. These are found in every level, but they're really prevalent here because there are a lot of springs. The level sadly suffers from a lot of stop and go with these block platforms, but I can deal with it, the setting is nice. After this comes Labyrinth Zone, and oh, So because Yuji Naka is a moron and didn't know hedgehogs could swim, Sonic has to find water bubbles in this yellow clusterfuck of a zone and stay alive underwater. This stage is so bad, no other words, it's not fun. The stage has so many underwater sections where Sonic moves about as fast as tectonic plates and can't breathe without air bubbles, which you can find around the underwater sections, except they take forever to form. Especially in those do-or-die situations when you're about to run out of air, since Sonic will drown if he can't find any. And that's not even talking about the spikes. Oh, Jesus! These spikes are a huge flick in the sack, since when you land on top of them, you lose all your rings, and you will die if you land on them right afterwards. Sonic has invincibility frames to save himself from enemies or oncoming hazards if he gets hit and loses all his rings. But for some reason that doesn't apply to these spikes. If you land on these spikes after getting hit, you will die immediately. This is mitigated in the remake, but I'll talk about that one later. Moving on to Starlight Zone, and it doesn't get much better. The stage has a beautiful setting and really good music. In fact, all the music in the game, composed by the lovely Masato Nakamura, is really good. I'll say that. You should give it a listen. It does get a bit repetitive around Act 3, but it's still a great listen. Back to Starlight Zone. The zone has great loops and really fun platforming at some points, but what ruins it? These fucking bombs, man! These bomb enemies are spammed throughout all 3 acts, and it gets worse with every act. And coupled with the spikes and bottomless pits, it just ruins my experience. And it's made 10 times worse by playing Labyrinth Zone right before! I can't show you all the pain I endured, since I lost the footage for Starlight Zone Act 1 and 2, since I was recording my Genesis Mini, and I forgot to unpause the footage. But trust me, they are horrid. Jesus Christ, we haven't even gotten to Scrap Brain Zone. Scrap Brain Zone is the final zone of the game, and it's definitely a cool setting, but Jesus, holy shit! This stage is punishing from the very start, and it only gets worse and just... well... I won't waste your time with a rant about the final zone. It's just a luck-based boss fight with the Doc himself. After destroying Robotnik's Super Stompy machine, we run through Green Hill and jump towards the camera. That's it. Oh boy. That was something. I know that may have been a lot of information at once, but that's because I didn't really enjoy the game that much and kinda ended up half-assing it in the end. To get the true ending of the game, you need to collect the Chaos Emeralds, which require you to get 50 rings in any stage that isn't the Act 3. If you get these 50 rings and keep them till the end of the stage, you could jump into a big ring and go through a bunch of challenge stages to collect them. These special stages are pretty easy, but I didn't end up getting to the rest of the emeralds because I couldn't be bothered. The game's monotonous stages get on my nerves, and keeping 50 rings is so hard to do in every act. I couldn't bring myself to play them again. Now it's time to get to my final thoughts of why, in my opinion, I don't really like this game. To be totally honest here, again, I love the classic Sonic games, and some of my favorite games are Sonic games. Particularly on the Genesis. But this one is just such a pain. This game was just a slog. Keep in mind, I played this game without using any save states. I recorded this on my Genesis Mini to capture in an HDMI, but I didn't want to play it using the save states. I wanted to play it like I was playing it on an actual Genesis, like I was on original hardware. So that means anytime I died, and I died plenty, I was always at the risk of losing all my lives and starting from the very beginning. And I lost all my lives. A lot. And anytime I did, I would lose my shit. You wanna know how many times that game overed? 6. 6 fucking times! I game overed 6 times without any save states, so I had to restart the game 6 times. You could say this is the reason why I didn't think this game was good, but that's not true. Well, yes, it was probably one of my worst experiences with it. Sonic 1 was remade by the phenomenal Christian Whitehead, with widescreen, better sound quality, and just an overall improvement. They even added the spin dash and more characters, and I really like that. I bring this up in the middle of my sentence because this version I actually like. Sadly, it's only on mobile, but I really do enjoy the game with this. With the spin dash, it makes it a better time. It is true that I like this version better, and the ability to save your progress is really helpful, but as the game stands, I'm not a huge fan. Sonic 1 was the first game in the series, and it definitely shows. Well, yes, it has charm, and it was a good game for 1991 standards. It kickstarted the entire Sonic franchise, and was a killer app for the Genesis. I'm sure you've heard that about 1,000 times. Sonic 1 is good for nostalgia and is iconic, But its monotonous structure and its zones, its stop and go, and borked level design make it dreadful. The game has flaws that bog it down, and the games that came after fixed a lot of these problems. Sonic 2 and 3 are some of the best games for the Genesis, but I'm going to save those for another time. God. I want to thank you guys for sitting here and watching my review till the end. I know that these are just my opinions, and you may have different ones, but that's alright. I don't write this review based on what other people think, I base it off what I think, and I'm glad that you guys can sit here and appreciate that. Well, this reviewing train has only just left the station. I hit the desk. Well, this reviewing train has only just left the station, so in the next video well, you'll just have to wait and see. Thank you guys for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next video. Good night.